Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something a little different. Well, not that different for us, but, different from what most companies are doing.
Oh, now what's that?
So we're looking at Nintendo's 2024 annual report, and get this, they actually operate as a single business segment.
Interesting. Single segment. What do they call it?
Entertainment. It's all about entertainment for them,
Right.
whether it's their dedicated video game platforms like the Switch or mobile games, merchandise, even movies, it all falls under this one umbrella.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating for such a big company. Most would be split into all these different divisions. So how does this single segment approach work for them? What's the logic there?
Well, from what I can gather, it's all about maintaining like a laser focus on their core competency entertainment.
Hmm. So instead of spreading their resources across multiple industries, they're concentrating their energy on everything entertainment related. Makes sense.
It does. I mean, think about it. They can be super agile and adapt quickly to market trends, like take the Super Mario Bros. Movie. It wasn't just a box office smash, it actually boosted sales for related games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Right. And I'm betting if they were divided into all these different segments, that kind of synergy might not have happened. That's a really good point.
It is. And speaking of the Switch, it's amazing how it's still going strong, even in its sixth year. According to the report, they sold 15.7 million units.
Wow. Really? That's incredible, especially with the chip shortage that's been plaguing the whole tech industry. Really shows just how much people love their hardware.
It does, but it's more than just the hardware, right? They've created this amazing ecosystem where their hardware and software work together seamlessly.
Exactly. They've got that signature Nintendo feel that their fans just adore. Plus, they're not afraid to explore new tech, like VR, AR, and MR, always looking for cool new ways to engage their audience.
Oh, I know. Can you imagine a Mario game in VR? That would be wild. But even with all the success of the Switch, the report does mention a dip in overall hardware and software sales.
Yeah, that's understandable though, right? I mean, the
Uh-huh.
Switch has been out for a while. Sales are bound to slow down eventually.
True. Plus, there was that whole chip shortage thing. But hey, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, sold a whopping 20.61 million units.
Wow, over 20 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, that proves people still want those high-quality Nintendo games.
For sure. Okay, so their dedicated video game platform segment is doing well, but what about their other ventures? They've really made a push into mobile gaming and using their IP for things like merchandise and licensing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, they've got some of the most iconic characters in the world. It's a brilliant move to use those assets in different ways.
And it's clearly working. The report shows an 81.6% jump in this segment year over year. That's massive.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. All those cute plushies and those mobile games everyone's playing. It's a gold mine.
Totally. And it all ties back to their single segment strategy, right? They're creating this whole universe for their fans to experience, not just selling individual products.
Exactly. It's a much more holistic approach, and it's clearly resonating with people.
Okay, so we've talked about their different businesses, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty, the financials. The report shows a drop in hardware and software sales, but somehow they still manage to increase their net sales and profit. How does that even work?
Well, a couple of things. First, the Super Mario Bros. Movie was a huge financial success.
True. And the continued strong sales of their popular games definitely helped offset that decline.
Absolutely. Plus, it looks like their investments in research and development are paying off. They spent something like 137.7 billion yen this year, which shows they're serious about innovation and staying ahead of the curve.
Right, gotta spend money to make money.
Yeah.
So let's dig into those financials a little deeper. Hit me with some key highlights.
Sure. So their net sales for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024, came in at a whopping 1,671,865 million. That's roughly 11.07 billion US dollars.
Hold on, let me write that down. Over $11 billion. That's a 4.4% increase compared to last year, even with the dip in hardware sales.
It is. They're doing really well revenue-wise.
Okay, that's impressive. Now tell me about their profit.
All right, so their operating profit came in at 528,941 million, which translates to about 3.5 billion US dollars.
Wow. That's up from last year, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And get this, the profit attributable to owners of the parent company was even higher, reaching 490,602 million, or 3.2 billion US dollars.
That's a huge jump from last year. What are the main factors behind these strong numbers?
Well, like we said, the Super Mario Bros. Movie was a big win for them, and the continued popularity of games like The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom is a major factor. But it's also about smart financial management. They've got a really strong and liquid financial position, which gives them a lot of flexibility.
That's so important, especially in today's economy. So what about their balance sheet? Anything interesting there?
While their cash and cash equivalents are pretty mind-blowing, at the end of the period, they had 853,432 million, or 5.6 billion US dollars.
Whoa, 5.6 billion in cash. That's a lot of money. What does that tell us about their financial strategy?
Well, it shows they're being super careful and strategic with their money. Having all that cash gives them the power to adapt to changes in the market, invest in research and development, and pursue all those cool new opportunities like those VR and AR projects we were talking about.
They're not just reacting, they're shaping their own future.
I like it. Okay, so they're making money, managing it well. What about cash flow?
Their cash flow from operating activities, which basically shows the cash generated from their core business operations, was strong at 462,097 million, about 3 billion US dollars.
All right, so the money's coming in, but where's it going?
Well, their cash flow from investing activities was negative, 630,632 million, or 4.1 billion US dollars.
Whoa, negative. Yeah, but remember we talked about how that's not necessarily a bad thing. This likely reflects all those investments they're making, property, plant, and equipment, all that research and development spending. It's all about setting themselves up for the future.
Makes sense. What about cash flow from financing activities?
So this area shows a negative cash flow of 236,958 million or 1.5 billion US dollars, which is mainly because of their dividend payments to shareholders.
Oh yeah, dividends. Let's talk about how Nintendo's taking care of its investors. They're known for rewarding their shareholders, right?
They are. For the fiscal year ending March 31, 2024, they paid a dividend of 131 per share, which works out to about 86 cents US. And they're not shy about buying back shares either, which can increase earnings per share and shows they believe in their own future.
It's like they're saying, we're doing great and we want our shareholders to benefit. But creating shareholder value goes beyond just money, right? It's about building a strong brand, innovating, being sustainable.
You got it. And Nintendo excels in all those areas. They're constantly pushing the boundaries of interactive entertainment. They've got a super iconic brand, and they're taking steps to be more environmentally friendly.
It's about building a company that people believe in, a company that inspires trust.
Exactly. And that's something that goes way beyond just the numbers on a financial statement. It's about creating a legacy. And Nintendo has certainly done that. I mean, think about how many people around the world they've touched with their games and characters. It's pretty incredible.
It really is. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive. We've looked at their different business segments, analyzed their financial performance, and talked about how they're creating value for their shareholders.
We've seen that even with some bumps in the road, Nintendo is still a force to be reckoned with in the entertainment industry.
They're making smart moves, managing their money well, and constantly innovating.
Yep, definitely a company to keep an eye on.
But we're not done yet. In part 2, we're going to get even deeper into their financials and analyze their free cash flow. Don't go anywhere.
So free cash flow, right. It's a really great way to see how much cash a company has left over after they've taken care of all those necessary capital expenditures.
Yeah, those essential expenses. It's like once you've paid the bills, how much money do you have left to play with?
Exactly. And for companies, that play money can be used for things like investing in growth, giving back to shareholders through dividends, or even buying back their own shares.
Right. It's a good indicator of their financial flexibility. So to calculate free cash flow, we start with their cash flow from operations. We talked about that earlier. It was a pretty healthy 462,097 million.
About 3 billion US dollars, right?
Yep. And then we have to subtract their capital expenditures, which is all the money they've invested in things like property, plant, and equipment.
The stuff that keeps the business running and growing.
Exactly. Looking back at the cash flow statement, it looks like their cash flow from investing activities was negative of 630,632 million. That's a big number.
Yeah, but don't let the negative signs scare you. Remember, capital expenditures are investments in the future. Like for Nintendo, this could include things like upgrading their factories, investing in new tech for game development, maybe even building out the infrastructure for those VR and AR experiences they're exploring.
Right. It's about laying the groundwork for growth down the road. So to get our free cash flow number, we subtract those capital expenditures from their cash flow from operations. And it looks like, in this case, they actually had negative free cash flow for the year.
That's right. Now, ideally, you want to see a positive free cash flow, but it's important to look at the bigger picture. Nintendo is in a phase where they're investing heavily, especially in research and development. They're putting a lot of money into creating new product and experiences, which is crucial in the fast-paced world of gaming.
It's like planting seeds for the future. Those investments could lead to even bigger profits later on. But let's step back for a second and think about some of the bigger trends that are shaping Nintendo's business. What kind of forces are impacting their strategy and performance?
Well, one of the biggest trends is how all forms of entertainment are kind of merging together. We're seeing the lines blur between gaming, movies, TV shows, even social media.
It's like it's all becoming one giant interconnected entertainment world, and Nintendo is in a great position to take advantage of that.
Oh, absolutely. They're not just a video game company anymore. They're a full-fledged entertainment powerhouse with all these iconic characters and stories that they can use across different platforms and formats.
It's like their single segment approach is really paying off here, right? They're
Yeah.
not limited to just one area. They can move with the market and create content that their fans will love no matter what format it's in.
Exactly. And they're doing it in a way that stays true to who they are. They're all about fun, family-friendly experiences that spark imagination and creativity.
It's nice to see a company that really sticks to its values, especially in today's world, where things can get pretty cynical and competitive. But let's go back to the numbers for a bit and look closer at their income statement. What else jumps out at you?
Well, one thing that's pretty impressive is their gross profit margin. It was 67.4% for the fiscal year. That's a really healthy margin.
So even after paying for all those production and distribution costs, they're still making a good profit on each unit they sell.
They are. And that allows them to keep investing heavily in research and development, which is super important in an industry that's always changing.
Right, got to stay ahead of the curve. I see their operating expenses, which include things like marketing and administrative costs, went up a bit this year. Is that a cause for concern?
Not necessarily. Remember, they released some pretty big titles this year, like Tears of the Kingdom. That probably required a lot of marketing to get the word out. You have to look at operating expenses in context. And Nintendo's operating profit margin, which measures their profitability relative to their revenue, stayed strong at 31.6%. So they're managing their costs well and generating a nice profit from their core operations.
So they're striking a balance between investing in growth and being responsible with their spending. They're not just throwing money around, they're strategic about where they invest their resources.
Exactly. And you can see that same strategic approach in their balance sheet, too.
Yeah.
We already talked about how much cash they have on hand, but they also have really low debt levels, which gives them even more flexibility.
It's like they're building a fortress, protecting themselves from any financial storms that might come their way. They're playing the long game, and it seems to be working.
It really does. But like any business, they have to watch out for risks and challenges. The gaming industry is constantly evolving, and there are always new competitors popping up.
The report even mentioned that the global semiconductor shortage could still impact their production. And then there's the whole thing with cloud gaming, which could completely change how people play games in the future.
Yeah, those are all valid points. But Nintendo's been around for a long time. They've seen a lot of changes and always managed to adapt.
They've got that Nintendo magic, that ability to overcome obstacles and come out on top.
Maybe they do. But seriously, I think their focus on quality, innovation, and creating truly fun experiences is what will continue to drive their success. If they stay true to their core values, I think they'll be in great shape.
Well said. But it's not just about adapting to external forces, right? It's also about knowing your strengths and weaknesses. What are some areas where Nintendo really excels, and where do they need to step up their game?
One of their biggest strengths is their brand recognition. They've got this deep connection with their fans. People grew up with Nintendo games, and those experiences create lasting memories and loyalty.
It's like they've got that nostalgia factor working in their favor.
For sure. And they've done a great job of tapping into that nostalgia while also introducing new generations to their characters and worlds. Another big strength is their ability to create really unique and innovative gaming experiences. They're not afraid to take risks and try new things, which is how they've come up with some of the most iconic gaming franchises ever.
They're not just following trends, they're setting them. But where do you see them facing challenges?
Well, one area where they've struggled a bit in the past is with online gaming. They were slower to embrace online features and services compared to some of their competitors. It's something they need to work on to stay competitive.
Especially with cloud gaming becoming more popular, being connected online is so important in the gaming world these days.
You're absolutely right. But it seems like they're aware of this. The report mentioned their plans to invest in new equipment and facilities, including a brand new development center dedicated to boosting their digital business.
That's encouraging. They're putting their money where their mouth is and making the investments necessary to succeed in the future of gaming. And it's not just about technology, right? They're also focusing on their employees and workplace culture.
Oh, for sure. The report really highlighted their commitment to creating a positive and supportive work environment where everyone can thrive and contribute their unique skills. They're all about collaboration, communication, and continuous learning.
It's about building a workplace where creativity can flourish and where people feel valued and respected. That's so important for attracting and keeping top talent, especially in a competitive field like gaming.
Couldn't agree more. And it also ties into their social responsibility efforts. They're promoting diversity and inclusion within their company, supporting community initiatives, and taking steps to reduce their impact on the environment.
It's like they're acknowledging that their business impacts the world and trying to make that impact a positive one. They're thinking about their employees, their customers, and the planet as a whole. It's refreshing to see.
It is. And it's also a smart business move. More and more, consumers are looking for companies that align with their values, and Nintendo's definitely paying attention to that.
They're not just making games, they're building a legacy that reflects their values and their commitment to making the world a little better.
And that's something that resonates with people, whether they're investors or just fans of their games.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground. We analyzed Nintendo's financial performance, took a deep dive into their free cash flow, and talked about some of the bigger trends and challenges they're facing.
We've seen they're in a solid financial position, making smart investments, and adapting to a rapidly changing industry.
But hold on to your hats, folks, because we're not done yet. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll wrap things up by looking at Nintendo's overall prospects for the future. Will they continue their winning streak? What potential pitfalls do they need to watch out for? Stay tuned for the exciting conclusion. Okay, so we've dug deep into Nintendo's world, right? We've looked at their financials, their unique way of doing business with that single segment thing, even got a peek at what they're cooking up for the future. Now for the million-dollar question. What's your overall take on Nintendo's future? Can they keep winning?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm feeling pretty good about their chances. They've been through a lot over the years. I mean, the gaming world has changed so much, but they always seem to find a way to come out on top.
Okay, I like your optimism, but break it down for me. What makes you so confident in Nintendo's ability to keep this going?
Well, for one thing, they just have this knack for knowing what makes games fun. It's not about chasing trends for them. It's about setting them.
Yeah, they definitely do things their own way. Like, who would have thought a hybrid console like the Switch would be such a massive success?
Right. But it just works. I think they tapped into something really fundamental about how people want to play games.
Yeah.
Plus, they're not afraid to experiment and try new things, and that's so important in an industry that's constantly evolving.
I totally agree. And let's not forget about the power of their brand. People love Nintendo. They've built this incredible connection with their fans that goes way beyond just the games themselves.
It's true. It's like people grew up with Mario and Zelda, and those characters hold a special place in their hearts. That kind of loyalty is priceless.
It really is. And they're not just relying on nostalgia either. They're constantly finding new ways to connect with their fans, whether it's through exciting new games, cool hardware like the Switch, or even those theme parks they're building.
They're creating this whole Nintendo universe that fans can just dive into. And that's a really smart move, especially with how all forms of entertainment are starting to blend together these days.
You're right, it's not just about games anymore. It's about creating a whole experience. And let's not forget about their financial situation. They're in a really strong position. They've got tons of cash, low debt, and they're consistently making a profit.
It's true. That gives them a lot of breathing room to invest in new ideas and navigate any challenges that come their way.
So financially, they're set, they're innovative, they have a huge fan base, and they're smart about expanding into new areas of entertainment. Sounds like a winning formula to me. But I have to ask, are there any challenges they need to watch out for?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No company is perfect, and the gaming industry is a tough business. Competition is fierce, and new technology is always popping up, which can really shake things up.
Like we talked about earlier, cloud gaming could be a game changer. If Nintendo doesn't adapt, they could fall behind.
That's definitely a valid concern. But I have a feeling they'll find a way to make it work. They've been doing this for so long, and they've always managed to adapt to new trends and technologies.
It's like they've got this resilience, this ability to overcome obstacles and come out even stronger.
I know, right? It's that Nintendo magic again. But seriously, I think their focus on quality, innovation, and creating games that people genuinely enjoy will be their biggest advantage.
Well said. It's been awesome exploring Nintendo with you. We've learned so much about their business, their financials, their plans for the future. It's been a wild ride.
It really has. Nintendo's such a fascinating company. I can't wait to see what they come up with next.
Me neither. All right, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. A big thank you to our expert for sharing their incredible insights, and to you, our amazing listeners, for joining us on this adventure into the world of Nintendo.
It's been my pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep playing.